Good afternoon and welcome to our live session with me, Drew Mellor. I'm the leader of BCP Council. Really delighted to be with you today. This is a normal session, so not one of our theme sessions that we've been running. Thanks to the Police and Crime Commissioner and colleagues for the Antisocial behaviour session we ran recently. Really good feedback on that, which is great. Really welcome any other ideas of themed and topic sessions that we could run. So please put them in the chat bar or contact us directly. I'd like to start these sessions with an update of where we are in terms of our COVID numbers, and our latest number is 222 COVID cases out of 100,000 population. So just to give some context, that's still high. It means it's prevalent in our communities. At the height of the pandemic, it was over 900, so we've come down a long way from then. And more recently, it was in and around 300 at the high ends of the 200s. So it's coming down effectively, but it's still there and persistent. We've got I believe 33 people currently in hospital across Dorset with COVID. So it's still serious, and people are still in hospital because of it. Again, just to give some context, we had over 600 at the height of the pandemic, and more recently it was sort of like high 40s effectively. So again, it's coming down from where it was a month ago, but it's still prevalent and there. So really important just to congratulate the vaccine success, in terms of how far removed we are from where we were this time last year. So please encourage any of those that and particularly some of the people in the younger age groups to go and get the vaccine. It's really helping us get through this. Before I go into questions, connected to the COVID situation is a serious mental health challenges that has brought us. So I just wanted to flag World Mental Health Day, which is on the 10th of October. We're trying to really engage with that as a council. I think we really recognise the fact that mental health has been, significantly challenged. So we'll be publicising, various different things on our streams. One particular thing we're really thankful for is the Youth Parliament have come together and with some of the investment we've been able to give to them, so come forward with something called Packs of Positivity. So really targeting that whole youth mental health piece, and they're coming out in time for the World Mental Health Day. So please, young people, parents as well, look out for those, and it's a good step forward. So 10th Sunday the 10th of October is World Mental Health Day. It'd be great if as many people could engage with that as possible. Okay, let me get to get to the questions now. And I'll see as many as we can get through. Questions go on absolutely any topic, particularly obviously that we can help with in terms of the council. But please fire away. Okay, fine. Okay, so we've got a question from Andy Clare Gardner around if you are expanding a population, can you please explain the expansion sewage treatment, please? Okay, fine. Really fundamentally, really important question, actually, because I think one thing I'll just slightly, sort of challenge briefly in terms of we're not expanding the population. I think the population is expanding, and we're saying it's absolutely vital that we provide housing and homes for people. We've got an affordability challenge here in terms of, particularly our young people being able to afford to stay in the area. So we're adamant that because, we've got that, we're not going to sit by and watch. We're going to make sure we're building, homes and quality homes, and more than that, quality places for our people. Build more homes sorts out affordability, in its simplest sense. What it does do, as you're quite right, Andy Clare, is bring the problem of utilities effectively. We saw recently there's some issues with the water treatment of Wessex Water. We've got fantastic quality water. The pool, there's a specific issue in and around Pool Harbour, so we need to address it. We are addressing it. There's a significant number of work streams going on with that. I was only literally this morning talking to one of my colleagues about a new treatment where you can actually use waste and turn it into energy. So we're in the budget, which would be in February. We're looking to bring forward some more widespread, carbon cutting, measures and some funding in order to do that. And I'm really keen to see if a way of using for waste and carbon offsetting can be done as well. So the significant, you're right, absolutely right. You can't build homes if you don't build the infrastructure. We're doing both. Okay. Okay, so got a question from, I believe this is coming from YouTube. So this is great to see what people get from Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, effectively. So whatever platform you're on, please engage. Will BCP Council start putting out more litter bins in and around Winton and Moordown? I say, well, thanks. First of all, thanks for the question. We've massively upped our amount of litter across the conurbation as a response to effectively what happened, not this summer, but the summer before that, and the widespread littering. So significant investment in that. We've specifically in terms of Winton and Moordown, I'm not sure, so I'll take that up and have a look. What we did on Wednesday, actually, so this time last week at Cabinet, we approved a paper called Cleaner, Greener, Safer. And that has significant investment. It's over it's about £3.8 million of investment in basically being cleaner and safer in our town centres and our other areas across the conurbation. So we're massively upping the budget in terms of anything to do with those real hygiene factors. We've talked a lot about pride in place. We've got to be proud of our place. A lot of the work we're doing at the moment is in the town centres, and I get then it's got to, what we have to now do is to then the lessons we've learned from those pilot projects feed out into the wider areas. So there is a significant more money going into hygiene factors. There's definitely more money going into litter bins around the conurbation, and I will specifically pick up around Winton and Moordown with our colleagues there and see if there's anything we are doing there. But thank you for your question. Okay. Okay, so Kevin Chapman, again, this is slightly connected. It's a different part of hygiene factors, but it's about the public conveniences in general. Well, okay, fine. Kevin, this is it's a specific question about a specific toilet, and we'll look up about that. The answer is relatively similar to one I was given. We've just put £3.8 million more into things like public facilities. We're bringing forward shortly and again referenced in that report, work around increasing toilet provision. I've said on here and on many other places we will be reversing a lot of the closures of public conveniences. We'll be certainly bringing more toilets, a new toilet into Paul Key. There's another site that was closed that we're looking to reopen, and we'll have a lot of investment going into that soon. We've got two in Hamworthy that we're doing as well. So there's significant investment in public toilets. Your question is different, Kevin. I understand that. It's about the maintenance of them. How will they upkept? I'll specifically look into that toilet, and apologies if it's not to the standard it needs to be. Okay, so we've got a question from Jason Giddins. Will there be any further financial government council support for the hospitality and leisure centre moving into the winter? Rate relief, freeze on VAT. Jason, yeah, thank you for this. This is more of a national government question, because what we've done is we've passported down the government has given us huge amounts of money, and actually our team, awesome job, have won awards. So I'm not sure if they've won. They've definitely been shortlisted for awards in how they've set that up, which is great. Getting money innovatively to local businesses. But that's not been our money. That's been money from the government have given us, and then we've passported. So I'm not aware of anything that further coming down in terms of that. Your other question about rate relief and freeze on VAT. Again, rate relief isn't something in material in our gift. What we are doing, and we're speaking to Wonky Table in particular, and supporting their campaign. I'm personally supporting their campaign around extending the VAT relief, at the level that it is at the moment. So, and I believe there's a campaign about keeping it at 15% permanently. So, we're a really important hospitality sector in and around BCP, not just for our tourists, but if we're trying to create a world-class place, you do that by having world-class amenities. Hospitality, massively one of hospitality culture. We're right behind, and we will. What we're trying to do, Jason, to some extent more locally, is make the place better. So our investment in the town centres, our investment in our wider centres, making them places people want to go to, people want to stay in, make them safer. We've got our £50 million Futures Fund, which is an infrastructure fund, which we're able to then put money into. Things like public realm enhancements and the like. So we're trying to massively do our bit, both in terms of the local environment. We're supporting people like Wonky Table in terms of what they're doing nationally, But it's ultimately it's a government money that I believe that in essence you're talking about, Jason. But thank you for all you're doing in the hospitality sector. It's a massively important part of our economy and place. Okay, fine. Andrew McVeigh, park and ride. Question on park and ride. So we're really pleased. We were able to put up a park and ride, 2 park and rides this summer. We didn't have one the year before. I mean, we came in as an administration just over a year now ago, and we put in 2 park and rides for this summer. They worked well. They were good. They weren't big enough, effectively, and they weren't used enough. So we need to look at ways we can actually increase. I guess there's an element of it's about publicity, but drive people towards and point people more towards the park and ride. The more they're used, the more we can expand them. So Andrew, it's on it's on our radar. We're reviewing all of our summer plans, our summer resilience work, what worked well, what didn't. I think park and ride is definitely a success, but we would like a bigger solution, effectively. But we can only do that if people use it. So we've got to review that, and we will be. Okay, fine. Question on residents' car parking from Gary Wooding. I realise I'm quite a few minutes behind now, so I'll try and be a bit quicker with some of the answers. So effectively, we're rationalising all of our services, effectively from Bournemouth, Christchurch, and Poole. Effectively, we'll look into that. I'll look into that for you, Gary. I'm not entirely sure about what's actually changed in terms of the parking and residents parking thing, but maybe one of our colleagues might be able to get an answer to that while we're online. But thank you for your question. Yeah, so Christian Bailey's asked a question about sewage. I've already answered a question about sewage, so I'm going to move on from that. It's working in partnership with people like Wessex Water, who are responsible for the sewage. So it's not in our gift. What we need to do is work with our partners to make sure they're doing what they need to. I've got a comment from Simon Grimston, which I'll add to the comment I mentioned earlier on about Winton and Moordown, requests for extra bins in West Cliffs and West Hill. We are bringing forward significant investment here. I will go back and make sure that in our regional areas that is including significant extra bin storage. Okay, yeah, Darren Smith. Really, I thought we might get a question or some questions around this. This is interesting, isn't it, around Oakdale? But I haven't read the whole question yet, so I'll catch up with it. But yeah, so I hear what you're saying about that. We've had I've seen a number of petitions. I've seen some really I think what's the best way to put it, tense, community relations, particularly with the recent closure in Kingsborough as well. I've been in meetings this week, asking for further information on that and understanding, because that effect is a new closure. What's been fed back is some of the existing road closures, which we're relying on the ward councillors, views on, predominantly. So in Oakdale, you've got 2 ward councillors who've been supportive of those. They feel it's the right thing for the locality. What's now happened is that's moved traffic around a bit, and then so effectively we've had to close Kingsborough Road as well, and that has caused significant tension. So I'm well aware of it, Darren. There's a massive process involved in this. Please feedback, directly to us. My email address is drew.mellor at bcpcouncil.gov.uk. So drew.mellor at bcpcouncil.gov.uk, and we're interested in hearing feedback on it. So we are working with the local ward councillors. So I believe in Oakdale, I believe you've got Felicity Rice and Pete Miles. So by all means, make your observations to those guys too as well. So your direct question is, majority against, if your portfolio went with the councillors, of course, who is not listening? Yeah, so you're talking about the local councillors not listening. We are engaging with them, and I'm sure they will listen if they have significant feedback. So, I think it's watch this space. Okay, Fiona. Right, okay, this is a problem in terms of council staff not responding to emails. And this is a real issue, and it's something that just isn't acceptable. I've also had I think we've had since COVID an lift in people contacting their local councillors about saying phone lines aren't used, properly or aren't answered properly. It's obviously, we've had challenges because people who used to be in the office are now not in the office. I think this, I completely agree, Fiona. If you're not getting emails answered, then that's absolutely not good enough. What I would ask is for if there's anything that hasn't been answered for a couple of weeks, please send it straight to me. That's drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk, because it's not acceptable. We are, through our transformation programme, and I'm responsible for the transformation programme, effectively trying to do a significant amount more, so much better than the previous councils were, in terms of making sure so much information is available digitally, making sure we've got a website that works really, really well, making sure you can report items you're concerned with very simply, taking a photo of it through social media, etc. So we're planning a report here app to come through. That's not to say then when people can't, what we need to do is we need to take whoever wants to engage in that way by having the most modern and efficient council, which we're a long way from being at the moment, but we expect to make significant strides forward in the next 12 months. It means whoever wants to engage digitally can, and that frees up time and space for people who need to engage over the phone to be able to do so. So but ultimately, in that interim period between that investment we're putting in now to when we're going to get to be one of the most modern and efficient councils in the country, it's not acceptable for people to be not contacted and replied to. So come to me. That's fundamental. Thank you. Okay, fine. So just moving. Just lost a couple there. I'll just come back up. DGF logs, going to be more road cleaning and road sweeping around the Bournemouth area? Absolutely. We've just put £3.8 million more into the budget to do cleaner, greener, safer. So some of those are things like our community safety officers, so more effectively what look like police on the streets. But a lot of it is in around road maintenance and sweeping. We're significantly putting in more budget into the weed programme as well. So we are going hell for leather about this, and I've made it absolutely clear that we expect by the end of next summer our towns to be places you can genuinely be proud of. So we're completely on that, and it's literally last week we put in that paper. So it takes a little time to then recruit people. And then actually, to start seeing some of the benefits there. The first thing we did was, in our Pride of Place agenda, was we levelled up in Christchurch. So Christchurch, we did this in our 100-day plan. So Christchurch has been underfunded bluntly by Dorset Council for years in and around street cleaning, and it was a much worse service than it was in Poole and Bournemouth. So although Christchurch were paying effectively one of the highest council tax rates in the country, the previous Dorset Council, Christchurch Borough Council, were not delivering in and around street cleaning. So the first thing we did was step that up, and we've materially invested in Christchurch cleanliness. So we now brought Christchurch up to Bournemouth and Poole, but now we need to move the whole area forward, and that's what this £3.8 million is all about. Okay, got a question from Matt Osman. I'm not entirely sure I know the answer to, but we can certainly feed it back in. Could you spend some time around loading bays instead of when you're saying hiding around the corners of car parks and permit areas waiting to ticket people? Yeah, for sure. I'll ask about the policy around loading bays. Ultimately, our traffic wardens are doing a great job, and they are penalising people who park inappropriately. So to be really clear, Matt, I think that's reasonable feedback around loading bays. I wasn't aware there's a problem, but if people are parking irresponsibly, we're going to be after them and trying to ticket them. Really, we had a massive increase in the amount of people we were able to ticket in the summer because of we stepped up a significant amount of resource. We're now able to tow people away who aren't who are parked illegally. Record numbers of people towed away, materially more than historically. So we're doing a lot on it. We're going to be quite tough on enforcement. We're trying to create a world-class place. That's our mantra: world-class city region. We want everything to be world-class. We think we've got a natural environment that's world-class. Let's make everything else world-class. And a part of that is enforcing the rules that we've got. So if people want to park all over the place, people get ticketed. So we're doing a lot of that. We can't, it'd be very difficult to do an awful lot more. But I'll take your point around loading bays. Okay, Adrian Chapman-Lowe, I don't know if you're talking about e-charging. What are the plans to provide charging for people without driveways? I presume you are, Adrian. Thank you. It's a really important question. We quite often talk about infrastructure, and part of that, as we move towards an electric-based rather than petrol and diesel-based society, and we're getting some really good uptake in electric vehicles. So we now need to make sure this is a place where it's really easy to do that. So Adrian, one of the things we're doing is we're looking at investigating ways of on-street charging. There's some really innovative technology. There is there's some choices to be made there. We can either do that with a partner, or we can do it ourselves. One of the things we're looking to bring forward is, and we've talked about this for some time, is to bring effectively, green bonds, forward. So ability for us to invest in carbon, we've got a crisis effectively in our climate, and we've signed up to the climate and ecological emergency. So part of that is we want to make sure we've got enough money, we've got the right way to put resources into delivering that, and the infrastructure pieces in there. So whether that comes from that fund, whether it comes from our futures fund, our £50 million futures fund, or whether we just support the market to do it. We're in discussions with it at the moment, but we're well aware we need to start moving that forward, at some pace. And I'm trying to put some pressure on us to do that, Adrian. Hope that was your where your question was going. Okay, fine. Yeah, again, we get some agreement from Summit about the public asset alleys being cleaned, and we're doing more of that, and we're trying to put exactly more resource in so we can raise those standards ourselves. Rachel Emma, we've got a question about Kingsmere Road. I've touched on this, but I'll just touch on it again because I think it's such an important issue in the community at the moment. We're hearing significant feedback back on it. We'll take that feedback in specifically about that. So effectively, this is we had a historic closure in Oakdale, and that was pushing traffic around where it wasn't originally anticipated. So this Kingsborough has gone in to effectively stop that traffic movement and try and bring people in a different direction. I'm well aware this has been more contentious than a lot, and our line has always been we will listen to the ward councillors, and you've got 2 ward councillors in Oakdale at the moment. So that is Councillor Rice and Councillor Miles, who are supportive of the ETROs. That said, I'm sure they listen to their local residents. So if enough people are against them, please contact Councillor Rice, Councillor Miles, contact myself, and I'll feed that in if you'd rather do it that way. These remain under review. Our position has always been that we believe in the ward councillors know their communities well, so we should listen to them in the first instance. But if something's not working, we'll come in and have a look at it. I've good dialogue with Councillor Rice and Councillor Miles, so I'm sure we can have a conversation and feedback, and I would directly pick that one up with them, Rachel. Thank you. Okay, fine. Yeah, Susan Lennon, antisocial behaviour. 2 stabbings on the wreck at Branksome is highlighting this. What are BCP Council doing in hotspot areas to alleviate this? Susan, you couldn't be more right. It's you just have to read the paper regularly, and it feels like the increase in antisocial behaviour is worrying. We've got now, since May, we've got a police and crime commissioner called David Sidwick, who campaigned effectively on reducing antisocial behaviour. So the police do a huge amount of amazing work But what Dave Sidwick has said is it needs to be focused on the things that we notice as well, and what makes us feel safe in our communities, and that's antisocial behaviour. So we've got a great partnership now with David Sidwick, and we come forward in our budget. We put forward 6 extra community safety officers. We've now gone and I believe in total we put an extra 370% increase in community safety officers. And we've only been in administration for a year. So all I can say, Susan, is I'm committed to us being pride in our place, and that means we're safe in it. So antisocial behaviour is a problem. We keep putting more money into it. We had, when we put our budget through, historically, we've had other parties say they don't want to support extra community safety officers. So, it's a political thing. I'm not trying to make a too political a statement in this, but my administration is committed to investing in antisocial behaviour, and we now have a police and crime commissioner who is prioritising that as well. So, and as I said, probably 5 or 6 times now, the £3.8 million we're putting into cleaner, greener, safer as of last week, a big part of that is around antisocial behaviour, Susan. Okay. Got a question about Amy Womble around the bus stop shelter on Stamford Road. I'm not actually sure where that is. By all means, Amy, if you would like to, email me, drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk. We can certainly look up that. Okay, got a question from Graham Tuffing. Can you ask them to Wessex Water replace a Victorian drainage system to stop the Poole Park flooding at high tides? Graham, we're thanks for the question. I'll make sure that gets put to them. I know a significant amount of work has gone into Poole Park for council, and I believe it's a Heritage Lottery Fund, and it is looking out. I don't think if you haven't been to Poole Park recently, please go and have a look at it. It's looking absolutely outstanding. There's been a huge amount of investment there, and a part of it, Graham, is in around the cricket pitch and the flooding there, and how they've tried to address that more permanently. So we know there is a lot happening there. There's an issue with the sluice gate. Councillor Anderson is regularly telling me, so we're coming up with a solution in and around that as well. So we're taking a responsibility where it's ours, where we've got to do it, and we're putting pressure on our partners where it isn't. But so I'll feed that back in directly, Graham. But we are aware in part of what we can do, and also some of the great stuff that has happened. It's great to see Poole Park being massively invested in. Okay. Yeah. So again, we've got a question about drainage systems, and we've got questions about the customer services effectively. So let me be really clear about that. I'll apologise. I don't think the current standard of customer services is good enough. I am making it a priority for us to do something about. The work's there to do it long term. The issue is what's in the middle from COVID, when people haven't been at the desk as much, to when we've got detailed solutions in. So thank you very much for the feedback on it, and we will improve it. Okay, we've only got a couple of minutes left in this session. Let me see if I can get some further questions. Yeah, okay, Alison Bartlett, this is a really important point. With Cleaner, Greener, Safer scheme, can you please remember wildlife and neat and tidy? I think it's sort of a question about, I'm reading that as a question between the balance between making sure everything's neat and tidy, but also being good for our biodiversity. This is really, it's really a fundamental point, really. We had this summer, so we trialled, a massive increase in biodiversity. So not cut as many verges, a bit more wildflower planting, letting some grass grow in certain areas. I was in a meeting this week to start reviewing some of the results of that. The clear message we've given is, let's be absolutely clear, it shouldn't be a choice between being an area we're proud of and an area that's biodiversity. So what we've said is we're not going to, have biodiversity at the expense of it being a clean and tidy place, but we need to get as much increase in our biodiversity as possible. So in that context, we're going to absolutely stand in front of, more wildflower meadows, less verge cutting where it's appropriate. So we're going to get that balance right, Alison. That's what we're trying to do. We're fully behind the climate and ecological emergency. We absolutely get that we need to increase biodiversity. We are doing that, but we're not going to do it at the extent of the place being a mess, effectively. So we're going to learn from the trial from this year. I intervened halfway through that trial and actually said, with significant feedback, we need to cut some of the areas that are looking untidy. But you're right as well. We need to make sure biodiversity is there as well, and we absolutely will do. So just to be clear, committed to sensible improvements in biodiversity, but we're going to make sure the bits that didn't work, the bits that just look purely messy, we're going to clean up. Okay, so we're pretty much over time now. So if I can answer something else, what we'll also do is our team will be responding to some of these points, the points we can respond to. So we try and get everybody an answer. Again, we talked about antisocial behaviour. Joel was correct, so hopefully I've answered that. We are buying a significant amount of electric vehicles. We've actually put a bid in for government so we can try and move a significant amount of the bus fleet to electric. We've committed that we will put money into that if we can match fund it with the government. So we're trying to do that. It's not just about electric, Adrian. We're doing I always forget what it's called, hydrogenated vegetable oil. A lot of our fleet goes on that. We're looking at exploring hydrogen on our fleet as well. So for different types of vehicle, we have different types of renewable, but we're absolutely committed to it. So we're trying to be one of the first councils in the country that gets government funding on top of that by money we're putting in to support our bus companies to go electric. We've already got hydrogenated vegetable oil vehicles in our fleet, and we're exploring hydrogen and how we can for our fleet plan make that work as well. So okay, we're I've got one extra question here. I just seen I'd like to answer. Barbara Diola, when are you going to invest in local outdoor play areas like Boscombe Gardens basketball court, which is awful and in need of an upgrade? Why do Conservatives hate spending money for people to ask for? Well, I disagree with you quite politely, if I may. We through our Futures Fund, we put £50 million into local infrastructure. So that's £50 million. No preceding authority did, the Unity Alliance didn't do, no other council in the country is doing. So this, in BCP, we're committed to having a world-class place. So it's this BCP Council that's put £50 million into money which we can invest. That's not just going to be in around, play areas and public realm, but it will be. Met with a national sports body and this afternoon actually meeting with them again around how we can do something immense and amazing and world class on a particular sport, and we're looking also for our Futures Fund to work out where we can invest in our play areas. Again, I mentioned Poole Park, but if you want some see some really positive investment in play areas, it's there. We do have an issue with vandalism of play areas, so one of the reasons why we're putting up significant extra CCTV across the conurbation, because vandalism is an issue. But we are absolutely, I'm a Conservative, this Conservative administration is putting £50 million into investing in our place, Barbara. So thank you ever so much for the question. But we are doing what you're asking us to do there. Okay, thanks everybody. We're a few minutes behind. I've realised I haven't got to all of the questions there, but thanks ever so much for your engagement. I will just repeat, we're really keen to get ideas from people. We've loved having our focus sessions. So really keen to get ideas from people who on different topics you'd like us to focus on, and we have these every 2 weeks, so it's quite easy to stand up a session. We've got plans to do one on the local plan, the transforming travel work, and get a lot of comments, and I did today about Oakdale, but about the whole transforming travel piece of work. And one thing we'd like to do is to bring forward something on our regeneration aim. So we just set up an urban regeneration company called Future Places, and I think it'd be great to start unpacking that, asking some questions about what we mean by saying let's invest in our area, let's make it amazing, effectively. So those guys should help. But any other ideas, really welcome. Last plug for on the 10th of October is the World Mental Health Day, so please engage with that. It's an agenda that's really, really important, and we're hopefully taking it really importantly as a council. So thanks everybody for their time today, and look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Cheers. Bye bye.